On the night of our 9th wedding anniversary, my husband came home with his pregnant secretary. In the most casual tone, he started giving me orders like I was the help. Dany's picky with food, so make sure every meal is different. And she can't sleep alone, so I'm moving into the guest room. I offered no counter-argument. I simply picked up the pre-packed suitcase and moved towards the exit. The housekeeper attempted to intercede, but Mick merely chuckled, saying, "Let her indulge her tantrum. She'll come crawling back in 3 days." They even wagered $2 million that I wouldn't last the night. What they didn't realize was that I was genuinely departing. Amabash was already waiting as I stepped outside. Mick called out, instructing me to leave my safety bracelet for Dany. That bracelet was the sole memento my parents had left me. Mick observed the anguish in my eyes, but remained unmoved. "Name your price," he stated. I recalled a time when I had once refused to give Dany my ski goggles, and he had left me unclothed on a frigid mountainside. I unfastened the bracelet and placed it on Dany's wrist. "May your baby be safe," I uttered. Mick added that as long as I complied, his child would also be considered mine. Suddenly, the bracelet snapped, cutting Dany's leg. Mick rushed to her, sighed, shouting for the doctor. Just last night, when I suffered a heart attack, he had stepped over me to go stargazing with her. He didn't flinch, merely instructing the housekeeper to sterilize the living room, as he didn't want Dany to detect any unpleasant odors. As I turned to leave again, he seized my wrist and ordered me to apologize. He then pulled me down in front of Dany. My knees scraped against the scattered fragments on the floor. "You broke it on purpose," he accused. "Say sorry." I had apologized for everything. Bland soup, checking on him, discovering the hotel text. I bowed 3 times. Then I looked at him and asked if that was enough. He sneered. "Your esteemed elder isn't here to shield you anymore." The doctor bypassed me as if I were invisible, while Mick showered Dany with affection. I began to exit, but bodyguards dragged me back inside. In the study, they restrained me. A thick needle pierced my vein. The doctor cautioned that it was perilous due to my cardiac condition. Mick was unconcerned. "Just ensure Dany recovers," he insisted. When Dany coughed, he commanded the doctor to draw double. The doctor hesitated. "She might perish," I whispered to him to proceed, but to release me afterward. Mick was poised to reprimand me again, but Dany called his name, and he left. 2 days later, I awoke in the hospital. Mick sat nearby with porridge. I declined. "I'll manage it myself," he inquired if I felt unwell. I requested my phone. He froze, then summoned the housekeeper. When I checked, I saw dozens of missed calls. "Who's been calling?" he asked. "Someone you don't know," I replied. He leaned in. "How long are you going to behave childishly?" I used to apologize to placate him. Now I simply gestured towards his phone. "It's Dany." His expression softened. He stepped out to take her call. My phone rang. I answered. "Weren't you going to meet me? Did you change your mind?" "No, just give me a few more days, that's all I ask." When Mick returned, I was faintly smiling, a smile he hadn't witnessed in years. He didn't inquire about it. He presumed it was my cousin. Then he said he'd come again tomorrow, but he never did. Instead, I saw photographs of him and Dany at dinners and galas. On the day I was discharged, he posted pictures of them embracing on a hot air balloon platform. I left a comment wishing them a lifetime of affection. 10 minutes later, he called. I didn't answer. I walked past the OB/GYN department and saw them together. A nurse smiled at Dany. "Your husband warms the ultrasound gel for you." I touched my abdomen. I remembered the baby I lost in the car accident. I wept during a video call to Mick, but saw Dany on the screen. "He lost a game," she said, "and now he's tied to the bed." Mick later called me, holding a tearful Dany. "You're pathetic, Ashlyn. You couldn't even hold on to your own baby." Honestly, I wish that truck had finished the job. Snapping back to the present, I tried to leave, but Mick barked, "Why are you just standing there?" I stammered, stating it was a coincidence. Dany clung to him and thanked me for the blood donation. She asked him to take me home with them. He agreed. In the car, I noticed a pair of damp lace panties on the seat. Dany gasped, blushing, and threw herself into his arms. Mick chuckled and observed my reaction, but I remained calm. That unsettled him. "You've been glued to your phone, chatting with your cousin." "Just reading the news," I replied. He wasn't convinced, and without warning, he snatched my phone. "What's your password?" he demanded. "My birthday," I stated. 9 years of marriage, a simple 6-digit password, and still he couldn't unlock my phone before it locked from too many failed attempts. The remainder of the ride passed in silence. When we arrived home, Mick immediately assisted Dany, who was experiencing pregnancy-related nausea, into the master bedroom with full concern. Then he instructed the cook to prepare all her preferred dishes. Returning downstairs, he caught a glimpse of me walking alone towards the guest room. Something about my solitary outline made him pause. After a moment, he told the cook, "Prepare a couple of Ashlyn's usual dishes, too. Set the table for 3 tonight." In the guest room, I opened my suitcase only to discover all my garments had been shredded. Thankfully, my passport and important documents were undamaged. Just as I turned to leave, Dany blocked the doorway. She held a black bottle in her hand, scrutinizing me with disdain. "Wow, Ashlyn, you've got some nerve," she sneered. "Even after I made you the laughingstock of the entire upper circle, you're still shamelessly clinging to the Hudson family like a parasite." "Oh, right. Your grandmother passed away last month, didn't she? Now that your precious old woman's gone, I guess you've got no one left to rely on. Makes sense you'd cling to Mick like he's your last lifeline." She laughed and shoved her phone in my face. "Remember the day you begged Mick to fly a helicopter so you could see your grandma one last time? Want to know why he didn't? Because he promised to take me to the beach to watch the sunset." "Look, the photo of us kissing was taken that day." I slapped the phone from her hand and seized her by the throat. The bottle slipped and struck the floor. The sharp odor of gasoline filled the room. In the commotion, Dany ignited the gasoline. Flames erupted. Having just been discharged from the hospital, I quickly succumbed to the fumes and collapsed. Through the haze, I heard Mick's voice. "Ashlyn." Then came the servants. "Sir, it's too dangerous. Please wait for the fire extinguishers. Move! Ashlyn is still inside." He rushed in, only to find Dany inside too. "Mick, help!" Without hesitation, he scooped her into his arms and walked away without glancing at me. 30 minutes later, after calming Dany down, he searched the house, but I was gone. Late that night at the airport, I mailed a package, boarded a flight to the UK, and coughed my way down the aisle. Just before takeoff, a text arrived from Mick. "I don't have time to play hide-and-seek with you. Dany has a prenatal checkup tomorrow, at 10 hours a.m. Come with her and get your lungs checked too." I didn't reply. I removed the SIM card and powered off my phone. "Mick, from this day forward, we're finished." The next day at the hospital, Dany asked Mick, "Is our baby okay?" Mick pulled her into his arms. "The doctor said the baby is perfectly healthy. No signs of trauma from the fire." "That's such a relief," she whispered. "You've been so quiet since we got here. I thought something was wrong with the baby." Her words made him pause. He remembered the moment in the fire, Ashlyn staring at him with cold, empty eyes. Frustrated, he checked his inbox. No reply. Not a word from her. Ashlyn had always responded when he called, always yielded, but now she was ignoring him. He let out a bitter laugh. He escorted Dany home, then went to work. As he entered his office, his assistant approached. "Sir, Old Master Hudson has returned. Emergency meeting in Conference Room 1. Mick nodded. "Buy some luxury handbags and trendy jewelry for Miss Dany. No, send them to the Roberts family estate." He assumed that was where Ashlyn went after leaving. 1 week later, after completing a major project, Mick returned home. In the living room, he saw a small figure curled up on the couch. "Ashlyn, how many times do I have to tell you? When I'm done working, I'll come back." But as he drew closer, he saw it wasn't Ashlyn, it was Dany. She looked at him with teary eyes. "Mick, Ashlyn hasn't come back. I've sent her so many apology texts, she hasn't replied. Maybe I should move out." Mick pulled her into his arms. "Don't overthink it. Take care of your health. Whether Ashlyn likes it or not, this is your home now." Half an hour later, He stood on the balcony in his silk robe, smoking a cigarette, a habit he hadn't indulged in for years. He opened his contacts. Her number was still there. His thumb hovered over the call button. After 2 cigarettes, he didn't call. He sent a message. Ashlyn, tomorrow is Grandpa's 80th birthday. Don't attempt anything foolish. Don't cause trouble for Dany or the baby. The next day, the celebration began. Mick arrived hand in hand with Dany. They smiled, posed, and played. The perfect couple until Arnold Hudson entered. Mick quickly released Dany's hand and helped his grandfather greet the guests. "Why didn't Ashlyn come with you?" Arnold inquired. "She's been preparing your gift and needed rest," Mick lied. 2 hours passed. Ashlyn still hadn't arrived. Mick stepped away and called her. "The number you dialed is unavailable." He redialed again and again. Then a courier arrived with 3 packages, all from Ashlyn. Arnold opened the first. It was an embroidered silk tapestry, the 100 Deities blessing scroll, hand-stitched with care. He opened the second. Inside was the heirloom jewelry set his wife had gifted Ashlyn when she married into the family. Everyone fell silent. Mick opened the last box. Inside, a divorce agreement and a medical report. He froze. Ashlyn wanted a divorce. He stared at the report, unable to process it. Arnold slapped him across the face. "You brute! Look what you've done! You've ruined her life!" Mick's family members rushed to support the old man. The guests began to depart quietly, one by one, and Mick stood there alone, staring at the divorce papers in his hands. No one knew how long he remained paralyzed. Eventually, without a word, he tore the agreement into pieces, ignoring Dany's frantic shouts behind him. He snatched a car key from the driver and drove straight to the Roberts family's old estate. But the house was dark, completely silent. He rolled down the window and waited at the gate, chain-smoking throughout the entire night. He smoked until his throat was raw, his voice hoarse, but the lights inside never illuminated. It wasn't until 5 days after the banquet that he finally learned the truth. Ashlyn had left the country. Why? Just to avoid him. He clenched his fists. It wasn't as if he had done anything unforgivable, just the kind of mistake men often make. So why did Ashlyn get to walk away so easily? Just disappear and divorce him as if it meant nothing? No, he wouldn't allow it. He refused to accept it. Once he located her precise whereabouts, Mick booked the earliest flight out. He didn't go home or pack a bag. He went straight to the airport. Just as he was about to check in, a familiar voice cried out behind him. "Mick, are you abandoning me and the baby?" He glanced at Dany's now slightly rounded abdomen and gently patted her head. "I've asked Assistant Thompson to arrange a new place for you. Move in today." At that, Dany began to sob. "As long as I can be with you, I don't care if we live in a trash heap, but our child is innocent. Mick, if Ashlyn truly loved you, she would accept our baby as her own, not sabotage your grandfather's birthday and humiliate you in front of everyone. A woman like her?" Mick cut her off coldly. "And what right do you have to judge my wife? I once thought you were sensible, but clearly you've forgotten your place." Taking the boarding pass from the staff, he looked at her without emotion. "No matter how many children I may have outside, Ashlyn will always be my only wife. When you move out of the villa, take all your belongings. I don't want Ashlyn coming home and being upset because she sees a single trace of you." Dany stood, frozen, tears streaming down her face as she watched him walk away. "Mick, I never thought you'd be more naive than me. You've hurt Ashlyn so deeply. Do you really think she'll ever return to you?" But he didn't take her words to heart. He knew his wife. For 9 years, all it took was an apology and a few gifts to win her over. But this time was different. This time she was angry enough to send him divorce papers. No gift could fix this. When he landed abroad, he went straight to a tattoo parlor. He handed the artist a sketch Ashlyn had drawn years ago. "I'm in a hurry. No anesthesia." 7 hours later, blood stained his shirt as he left, unfazed. He purchased a gift worth millions and 999 white roses. Nearly 48 hours without sleep, Mick drove straight to a vineyard estate outside London. On the highway, he rehearsed his apology repeatedly. "Ashlyn, I missed you so much. And finally, after traversing oceans and making countless sacrifices, he found her. But the bouquet slipped from his hands the moment he saw her, bathed in golden sunset light. Ashlyn stood in the arms of a tall, handsome man. She laughed freely, feeding him grapes, her face glowing with peace. Mick stood frozen. Who is he? Ashlyn's body tensed. The man, Brian, tightened his hold around her. You must be Mick. I've seen your wedding photo with Ashlyn. Didn't expect you to look even worse in person. Ashlyn giggled at Brian's teasing. Mick felt a blow to the chest. He clenched his fists until they bled. Since you came all this way, I'll be polite and introduce myself. I'm Brian, Ashlyn's Brian. Mick cut him off. Got it. You're the son of the Roberts family chauffeur, the same ungrateful scoundrel grandma. Rhea expelled for thieving. Brian didn't react, but I did. Mick, Brian is nothing like that. And what are you doing here? You're trespassing on private property. You've already broken the law. Mick's face darkened. Ashlyn, I came all this way. Please stop acting like a child and come home. Home? I stared at him. Are you out of your mind? We're divorced, Mick. Didn't you see the agreement with my signature? Just as I was considering printing another copy, he said, That ridiculous piece of paper? I tore it to shreds. Ashlyn, I know why you're angry. The situation with Dany is over. She won't trouble you again. He stepped closer, reaching for me, but I pushed him away. Back when the Roberts family fell from grace, your family helped us. I married you out of gratitude. For 9 years, I tried to repay that debt. Now that Dany is pregnant, the Hudson family finally has an heir. I truly wish the three of you a peaceful life together. The message was clear. Mick's face turned pale. Wife, are you telling me the past 9 years meant nothing? That you were only with me out of gratitude? You expect me to believe that? No, of course he didn't. Because if I didn't love him, why would I beg for a kiss every morning? Why would I weep endlessly when he had surgery? I loved him. Everyone could see it. But the more I gave, the more he trampled on it. He forgot that hearts feel pain. Eventually, we stop breaking. We simply go numb. Mick's voice cracked. Ashlyn, I didn't realize Dany would hurt you so much. It was just one night. I only brought her home out of responsibility. Once the baby is born, I'll send her abroad. Will that be enough? I shook my head. Mick, I don't care what you do with Dany. I have a new life now. I'm not returning. Please just leave. A new life. What new? Frustrated, exhausted, and weakened from blood loss after the tattoo, Mick didn't finish the sentence. His vision blurred, the world spun, and then he collapsed. By the time Mick awoke, it was already past 11 at night. He noticed a glass of water on the nightstand, likely left by the staff. Misunderstanding the gesture, he felt a flicker of hope. Despite the pain, he pushed himself up and staggered out of the room, determined to find Ashlyn. But when he reached the rooftop terrace, drenched in cold sweat, what he saw nearly stopped his heart. Ashlyn stood in Brian's arms, the two of them locked in a slow, passionate kiss. A sharp pain ripped through Mick's chest. Pale and furious, he stormed forward and grabbed Brian by the collar. What the hell are you doing to Ashlyn? At that point, he could no longer pretend Brian wasn't just the childhood neighbor. Not anymore. Who gave you the right to touch my wife? Brian let out a calm chuckle. Your wife, Mick. Did you ever treat her like one? Did you ever cherish her? You... Before Mick could strike, Brian's patience snapped. He punched Mick across the face. If Ashlyn weren't so kind-hearted, I would have left you bleeding outside the gates for the wild dogs to finish the job. Listen closely. Ashlyn is my fiancée now. No matter how shamelessly you beg, she will never look at you again. Mick froze. He slowly turned to Ashlyn, eyes wide. Is that true? We've only been apart for a month, and you've already agreed to marry someone else? I didn't bother explaining. I didn't mention that I'd said yes to Brian's video proposal the night I found out about Dany's pregnancy. Instead, I leaned into Brian's shoulder and smiled. A soft, was all I gave. Mick's expression shattered. You've lost your mind. You're still my wife. I never signed anything, and now you're throwing yourself at another man. How dare you do this to me? How dare I? I tilted my head, amused. Does your consent mean anything to me, Mick? You think far too highly of yourself. Let me say this one last time. You mean nothing to me. We are truly, completely over. Then I turned away without a second glance, my fingers intertwined with Brian's, and we continued our quiet moonlit conversation. No one knew when Mick left the estate. No one cared. But he didn't return to America. Instead, he bought a high-rise apartment near the vineyard, one with a view of the estate. Each day became routine. Remote meetings followed by drives to the estate gate. Every visit he brought gifts, flowers I had once liked, things I had mentioned. In passing, things he had never cared to give me during our 9 years of marriage. But I never acknowledged him. I had learned something valuable. A woman should never shape her life around a man. The world was vast. My only job now was to make myself happy. As for Mick, I assumed Grandpa Arnold had begged him to win me back. So I made the call myself. I told Arnold I had a new fiancé and a new life. I asked him not to let his affection for me keep Mick trapped in the UK. Even after that, Mick stayed for a whole month. He waited outside the estate just for a glimpse of me from behind a tinted window. But the first to break was Brian. That night, after returning from a party, we saw Mick standing under a street lamp, holding his usual bouquet of white roses. As I stepped out of the car, fireworks erupted behind me, rainbow-colored, beautiful. They were the same fireworks from Mick's proposal. I had said yes back then with tears in my eyes. Brian saw my hesitation. It broke him. He stormed over and punched Mick, initiating a brawl. Mick, you shameless scoundrel. All you ever do is hover like a lovesick dog. You're the most pathetic leech I've ever seen. Mick shot back. If I'm a parasite, then what are you? Ashlyn and I were together for 9 years. If it weren't for her accident, if she hadn't lost the ability to have children, I never would have let Dany keep the baby. He looked at me. She misunderstood me. She thinks I cheated. That's the only reason she settled for you, a second option. But once I explain, she'll end the engagement and return to me where she belongs. That was it. Brian laughed darkly and punched him again, harder. When I lost our child in the accident, Brian dropped everything to be by my side. And Mick? He booked a vacation to Prague with Dany while I bled in a hospital bed. He was sightseeing. I tried to stop the fight, but they wouldn't listen. Then a police car arrived. All 3 of us were taken to the hospital for checks. Despite my concern for Brian, they placed me in Mick's room. That's when I realized he had arranged all of it just to get time alone with me. I laughed. Was all this really necessary? Lying in bed, 2 ribs fractured, Mick blushed and said, Ashlyn, I miss you. I'm going insane without you. As the doctor tended to his injuries, I saw the tattoo on his chest, the sun, the moon, and the stars. It was the design I'd drawn when I found out I was pregnant. Back then, I'd shown it to him, full of joy, and he'd said coldly, The moon? You think someone like you deserves to be the moon? Now, while Brian had stepped away, Mick grabbed my hand and held it tightly. Ashlyn, I want to apologize. I'm sorry for everything. I'll do anything to make it right. Just please forgive me. Before I could answer, his phone rang. It was Dany. Mick, help me. Assistant Thompson just barged in with people. They took me to a hospital. They're trying to take the baby. Mick didn't flinch. He just smiled calmly at me. Dany, I already know you drugged me. This child can't be kept. As for the fake posts you paid to spread online claiming my wife is infertile, they've been wiped clean. Slandering my wife has consequences. The doctors won't use anesthesia, and from today on, you'll never have children again. Silence. Then came her panicked sobs. Mr. Hudson, please! I didn't mean it. Please spare the baby. No, no, don't! Her screams pierced through the phone. I blinked, my brows tightening. Mick noticed and ended the call. He gently took my hand, pressing it to his cheek. Ashlyn, I'll send you the surgery video later. Maybe you'll forgive me even just a little. I pulled my hand back. This hospital has a good psychiatric department. You should consider checking in. Mick smiled weakly. All right, whatever you say. He thought he could spend the rest of his life making up for it. But 3 days later, I married Brian in a grand, beautiful ceremony. By the time Mick found out, it was too late. He burst into the venue just as the priest finished the vows. He arrived in time to hear me utter those two final words. I do. No, Ashlyn, you can't marry him. He dropped to his knees, clutching his chest in pain, trembling. He begged, Baby, please, we're not divorced. I never signed anything. Don't. Leave me for someone else. I looked at him with nothing but disgust. Mick, since your grandfather kindly gave me a red envelope of blessings, I'll forgive you for interrupting my wedding. But this ceremony has no place for you. So do me a favor. Leave. Go back to wherever the hell you came from. My words struck him like ice water. Mick finally lost control. Tears streamed down his face. Ashlyn, I know I was wrong, he sobbed. Please, just give me one last chance. I swear I'll change. I can't live without you. Ever since you left, I've thought about you every single day. Even in my dreams, it's always you. The way you used to love me, the way you looked at me. Ashlyn, I love you. I love you more than anyone else ever could. He poured his heart out, desperate and broken, as if his words could somehow bring us back. His body trembled, his voice cracked, and the veins in his forehead stood out like lightning. Then, in one last fit of madness, he ripped open his black shirt, revealing the still bleeding moon tattoo on his chest. Pointing to it with bloodshot eyes, he shouted, You are my moon, my wife. I'll give you anything you want. Just don't leave me. But instead of being moved, I softly laughed and covered my mouth, amused. Mick froze, lost. I met his shattered gaze and said calmly, Mick, I already have someone who truly loves me, and I love him. His name is Brian Mateo. He is my husband now. As for you, even if every man in this world were to perish, I would never choose you again. I watched Brian's ears flush with joy as he slipped a 9-carat diamond ring onto my finger. Mick stood, paralyzed, the blood in his veins turning to ice. As I passed by him, holding Brian's hand, he lifted me into a princess carry and walked proudly toward the honeymoon car. But behind us, something horrifying happened. Mick grabbed the silver cake-cutting knife and with tears in his eyes screamed, You're just afraid of getting hurt again. But it's okay. I'll show you my sincerity. With one sharp motion, he stabbed the knife into his own chest and collapsed, trembling in pain. Look, Ashlyn, my heart has always loved you. Please look back at my true heart one last time. His pitiful cries echoed, but I never turned around. Instead, I snuggled closer to Brian, who smiled down at me with gentle eyes. Hubby, crazy people are scary. Please take me away. Brian carried me quickly out of the chapel and placed me gently in the passenger seat of his car. Wife, let's elope, okay? With a smile in my eyes, I leaned into his shoulder as he pressed the accelerator and the engine roared to life. We sped away toward our true happiness.